We continue now at the top of Daf 80a Daf in Meseches Bava Kamma. This is Bava Kamma Daf 80a. The Brisa continues, V'hatavach lokeach v'shochet lokeach v'shohe. The butcher is allowed to buy these small domesticated animals and slaughter them right away, and he can also buy them and keep them. Uvilvad shelo yisho ha'aguna shebohen lamed yom. As long as he doesn't keep the last one for 30 days. And Rashi explains, V'hatavach ha'mekabitz es habehemos liyom hashuk. This person is gathering the animals for the day of the marketplace. Lokeach v'shochet o lokeach v'shohe. He can buy it and slaughter it, or he can buy it and keep it ad yom hashuk until the day of the marketplace. Shloshim yom lamecho. That's 30 days from the time that he bought it, meaning he can keep it for 30 days till the day that it's going to go to the marketplace. Uvilvad shelo yishas aguna hameucheres lamecho. As long as he doesn't keep the one that the last one that he purchases, meaning shalakach samach le'es hashuk, meaning he bought this animal close to the time of the marketplace. Lo yisha osa la'achar yom hashuk. The way Rashi understands is he shouldn't keep it after the day of the marketplace. Lahashlim shloshim yom lamecha, so that he'll have it for a full 30 days. He should not do that. He should never keep it past the day of the market. And the Gemara continues at the two dots. Shalu Talmida ves Rabbi Gamliel. The students asked Rabbi Gamliel, Mahu legadol, what's the halacha in terms of raising these small domesticated animals? Amar len, he said to them, mutter, it's mutter. And the Gemara says, Vatanan, but didn't we learn in our Mishnah, Ein Megadlin, that one is not allowed to raise these animals? And so the Gemara says, Ela rather, Hachi Kabo Minei, this is what they were really asking him. Ma'u Lishos, can you keep these animals? Amar lehen, and to that he said to them, mutter, it's mutter to keep them. Uvilvad shelo teitze v'tira be'eder, as long as they don't go out and graze among the flocks. Ela kosher b'karei hamita, rather what you have to do is you have to tie these animals to the legs of the bed. And Rashi notes, Ela kosher of a Rabbanan pligi oled Rabbi Gamliel. The Rabbanan would argue on Rabbi Gamliel, and they would say this is not permitted. And the Gemara continues at the two dots. Tanu Rabbanan, the rabbis taught, Ma'isa b'chosid echad sheyagoneach milibo. There was an incident with a certain pious individual, and he was groaning from the pain in his heart. He was suffering. V'shalu l'rofim, and so he asked the doctors what to do. V'yamru, and they said, Ein lo takonat sheyinak cholav roseach mishachris l'shachris. The only solution is that he has to drink from milk that is burning, meaning to say fresh milk, from morning to morning. V'heviu lo eiz, and so they brought him a goat. V'kashulo b'karei hamit, and they tied that goat to the legs of his bed. V'hayonek mimenu mishachris l'shachris. He would drink from it every morning. Liyamim, so some days later, nichnasu chaver of Lavakro, his friends came to visit him. Kevin sharo oso eiz kashura b'karei hamita, when they saw that goat tied to the legs of the bed, chazru lachoreim, they turned backwards. V'yamru, and they said, listim mezuyin b'veiso shalzeh, there's armed robbers in this house. The idea is again that these small domesticated animals, they graze in the fields of others. V'yanu nichnasan etzlo, and we're entering over here to visit him. And Yashvu Vodko, it says that they sat and they examined, V'lo matzu bo ela oso oven shal oso eiz. They only found this one sin that he had done, this one sin regarding this goat. V'yafu b'shas misasu, and even he, during the time of his death, Amr, he said, Yodeya ani, I know, she'ein bi avon ela avon oso ha'ez. There's no sin that I committed except for that sin with the goat. She'avarti al divrei chavera, because I transgressed the words of my friends. And the Gemara continues at the two dots. Amr Rabbi Yishmael says, Mi bali batim shebegolil ha'elyon, hayu beis abba. They were from the Balabatim who lived in the upper Galil. That was the house of my father. Umipnei macharvon, why were they destroyed? Shayu marin b'chorshin, that they were grazing their animals in the forests. V'dan and dine mamanis b'yachin, and they were also judging monetary cases with one expert judge instead of having more than one judge. Now, even though the forests were near their houses, so what's wrong with grazing the animals in the forests? That's generally allowed. But there was a small field there that was in between, and then they would take the animals through that field, and that was the problem. And the Gemara continues, Tana Rabban, and the rabbis taught, Roa sha'asa teshuva. If you have a shepherd who's doing teshuva, he wants to get rid of these small domesticated animals that he's not supposed to have. Ein mechayven oso limchor miyad. We don't obligate him that he's to sell all the animals immediately. Elamocher al yad. Rather, we say he can sell them little by little. V'chein ger, and similarly a convert, shenaflu lo klavim v'chazerim birushaso. Let's say he gets dogs or pigs that he inherits from his biological family. Ein mechayven oso limchor miyad. We don't obligate him to sell them immediately. Elamocher al yad. He can sell it little by little. And also, somebody who makes a neder, who makes an oath to purchase a house or to marry a woman in Eretz Yisrael, we don't obligate him to do these things right away. It's until he finds that which is appropriate for him. Umaisa b'isha achas, and there was an incident with a particular woman, Shaya benam meitzar lo v'kaftzah v'nishba, that her son was bothering her, and she got up and she took an oath, Kol mi sheyavo eini machzira, so that anybody who comes, I'm not going to turn him away, I'll marry whoever it is. And then there were people who were not appropriate, and they tried to marry her. When this matter came in front of the Chachamim, Amru, they said, Lo neskav nazu ela lo hagan la. What her intention was that she would marry someone appropriate. She doesn't have to marry all of these various individuals that are not an appropriate shidduch. And the Gemara continues, Kashem sha'amrein megadlin behemadaka, just like they say that one is not allowed to raise a small domesticated animal, kach amrein megadlin chayadaka, so too in Eretz Yisrael, one is not allowed to raise a small undomesticated animal. Rabbi Yishmael says, Megadlin klavim kofrin, a person is allowed to raise, these are small dogs, v'chasulam, and cats, v'kofin is monkeys, v'chuldos senoim, and weasels that live among the bushes. The Gemara will identify this creature. The reason why you can keep these animals is because they clean out the house from the mice. And the Gemara says, "My chuldos senoim." What is this creature, the chuldos senoim? Amar Rav Yehuda. Rav Yehuda says, "Sharza charza." It's the sharza charza. V'ika di amri charza, and some people say it's charza. To katine shakia, this creature has small thighs. V'raya beni vardani, and it grazes among the bushes. Umay shirtzen. Why is it called shirtza? The mitasoi shakia, because its thighs are so short that it looks like it's crawling. It looks like it's creeping along the ground. And the Gemara continues, Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Rav. Rav Yehuda says that Rav says, Asinu atzmeinu beBavel ke'eretz Yisrael lebehemadaka. In Bavel, we treat ourselves like Eretz Yisrael when it comes to the small domesticated animals. You shouldn't raise the small domesticated animals in Bavel as well. Amar le Ravada Barava le Rav Huna. Ravada Barava said to Rav Huna, Didach mai, what about your small domesticated animals that you have? Amar le, he said to him, Didan kaminter lehu chuva. Our animals are watched over by Chuva, that was his wife. She makes sure they don't graze in other people's fields. Amar le, so he said back to him, Chuva tikperinu livna. Chuva should bury her sons. And the Gemara notes, Kula shnei de Ravada Barava, all the years that Ravada Barava was alive, lo ikayim zara le Rav Huna mechuva. The children that Rav Huna had from Chuva, they did not survive. And the Gemara continues, Ika Diamri, there are those that say another version of the above discussion. Amar Rav Huna Amar Rav. Rav Huna says that Rav says, Asinu atzmeinu beBavel, we treat ourselves in Bavel, ke'eretz Yisrael lebehemadaka, like Eretz Yisrael in terms of the halacha of not raising the small domesticated animals. Michi asa Rav leBavel, from the time that Rav came to Bavel. From that point in time, we treat ourselves like Eretz Yisrael. And the Gemara continues, Rav u'Shmuel of Ravasi, Iklu levei Shavua haben, Rav and Shmuel and Ravasi, they went to a celebration after a son was a week old. That means to say a bris milah. V'amri lo levei Yeshua haben, and some say they went to the celebration of a pidyon haben. Rav lo ayel kame de Shmuel, Rav would not enter in front of Shmuel. And we will take a look at Rashi, Shahayumarin behemadaka shalahen bechorshin. Again, the family of Rabbi Shmuel, they would graze their small domesticated animals in the forests. V'avav yishayuchorshin samach levateim v'lo yurom besad zacherim, even though they weren't grazing them in other people's fields. When misham chorshin like a gazel, there's no problem of grazing them in the forests. That's not considered to be stealing. We say that's permitted earlier. We say also later on in the takon of Yehoshua that a person who owns the forest shouldn't be makbid about that. He should allow it. Nevertheless, nenshu, they were punished. There was a small field there in between, and that belonged to somebody else, and that was problematic to go through that field. And Rashi continues, Kalavim kufrim refers to katanim and anosim, that either refers to very small dogs. Rashi has another interpretation. It could be the large dogs of the hunters, ve'ein mazik, and they don't cause any damage. Chuldos senoim, again, is gedelos besna. These are a kind of weasels that they grow in the bushes. Lenakar sabayis, these animals can be kept because they clean the house, minho achborim, from the mice. Vardani, again, refers to a snare, refers to a bush. And we will note over here that some identify the chuldos senoim as the creature known as the genet. And Rashi continues, beBavel ke'eretz Yisrael, we treat ourselves in Bavel like Eretz Yisrael, shemiyom golos Yechanya, that from the times of the exile of Yechanya, rabu sham talmidim, there were many talmidim there in Bavel. V'nisyashvu sham b'ishav kavu, again, there was a major settlement over there. Didach mai, so then he asked, what about your animals that you're keeping? Halo yesh loch behemadaka, don't you have small domesticated animals? And so he said, Chuva, he said, my wife Chuva, Shemishto, that's the name of his wife, she watches over them. And so then the response was, Tikbarinu livna, she should bury her son. She'atas somech alesh, she should bury her children because you're relying on her. V'yeina yichola lishma, she's not able to watch over these animals. Some have a different version, Michi asa Rav leBavel, that they treated Bava like Eretz Yisrael from when Rav came to Bavel. Rabu Mesiyashvin Sham Imnei Yeshivasu, because he made a yeshiva, there were a lot of people that settled there. Lishna Achrina, another version is Hu Ba v'limadnu lehizar b'kach. He came and he taught us to be careful about it. Shara Sham Rov Yisrael v'yishav kavo. He saw that there were a lot of Jews there and there was a major settlement, and therefore he said we should be careful about this halacha. Shavua haben is a bris milah. Again, Shavua haben refers to bris milah. Al Shem Sha'avru Olav Shiva Yamim, because 7 days have passed. And Yeshua haben refers to Mishta Sha'osin Lepidyon haben Bechor. That refers to the feast that they make for a Pidyon haben. And Rav lo ayel kami de Shmuel. Rav didn't want to enter before Shmuel. Time amrin lekamon. We will say the reason later on, and we will continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Pei Amud Beis.